Hey, Andrew.
Yo, what's up, Geoff?
I don't know if you had the same thought, but once I started listening to Metroid Prime, I started getting real Doom vibes.
You can also play around with that mouse.
Apparently that wasn't low enough, and I wanted to do more.
Hi. Question. What if the sci-fi extraterrestrial soundtracks of the Metroid franchise sounded like the kick-ass, fist-pumping soundtrack of Doom Eternal? Well, now there's an answer because I, Geoffrey Day, have collaborated on something so blisteringly distorted that if Samus put in some earbuds, every morph ball bomb would go off like a tactical nuke. Use the timestamp below to skip to the final product if you want, and I'm happy to share that this video was sponsored in part by my, dare I say, perfect patrons. Stick around to the end of the video for credits and info about the benefits. Whose art is now the background wallpaper of my phone? It's Kina, of course. The amount of creativity crammed into this one human being is unfathomable. Her links are in the video description below. Go give her a follow, won't you? So, with a heaping pile of requests for different Metroid tunes, and with the recent release of Metroid Dread, and with my friend Andrew Baena already thinking about covering something from the franchise, the timing could not have been better. I think this is gonna be a fun video. Let's get started, shall we? On the thumbnail of this video, you might have noticed a big old dragon guy up on the left. That guy, for the one or two people who don't already know, is called Ridley. The reason I want to start with this creature's name is because the name itself is a perfect segue into what the world of Metroid is all about. You see, I discovered that Ridley was named after Ridley Scott, the director of a little home video colloquially referred to as Alien, a movie that, go figure, heavily inspired the world of the very first Metroid. Now, back in the days of the original Nintendo Entertainment System, graphics technology wasn't really in a state to realize that gritty, alien-like vision, but it certainly was enough to get the point across. However, given enough time, the game's visual, and by extension, audio design began to fine-tune the balance between relatability, otherworldliness, and what it's like to be the only human for millions of miles in every direction, surrounded instead by hostile alien life and bizarre architecture. Basically, it's creepy. So the one thing that came up a lot in my research about the Metroid franchise is how the soundtracks used melody sparingly between sound effects and other non-melodic things, but it seems like the composers had to get comfortable doing that over time, especially as gaming hardware improved. Have a listen to these clips from soundtracks of the first 5 Metroid games and notice how things evolve over time. I don't know if you had the same thought, but once I started listening to Metroid Prime, I started getting real Doom vibes. Like, listen to this one. Now listen to this clip from Doom 2016. Huh? Yeah, if you think about it, they really aren't that far apart at their core. Besides both games being first-person spacesuit shooters, both soundtracks have upbeat themes for high-tension moments, and for the in-between stuff, they also both stick to pretty much just atmospherics, drones, and textures. The differences in those specific textures are, if I had to guess, due to the different inspirations for each composer in the context of the games they were working on. So I want to go back to Alien for a minute, because that soundtrack has a few moments that feel especially Metroid. The movie is all about tension and terror and of course alien life, which is very Metroid, but interestingly it creates the same kinds of textures and ambience using only an orchestra. Listen to this. Now, this got me thinking. I was curious if using an orchestra over some other types of instruments was just because that's how blockbuster films were done in the 80s, but even the soundtrack for the much more recent game Alien Isolation sticks with a mostly orchestral production instead of getting abstract or electronic or something else. And this is what brings me to an important conclusion, I think. If we've learned anything from the limited hardware of the early game consoles, it's that it's possible to convey musical ideas and make an iconic sound despite massive constraints. It might be limited system memory. It might be that the producers only want an orchestral score, or it might be that the budget is very, very small. And yet, as those constraints are lifted, it takes a lot of self-awareness to both identify and stick to an aesthetic. For Metroid, that aesthetic is electronic textures and subtle melodies. For Alien, that's a dissonant and unconventional orchestra. And for Doom, that's brain-melting distortion in every form imaginable. Okay, despite what I just said, one thing I can say for sure is that Metroid does not use enough guitars. So I was very pleased when I received this message a couple of weeks ago. And what was my response again? Hit it! Hey, Andrew.
Yo, what's up, Geoff? How's it going?
I love that you get the helmet on right now.
Yeah, I can't actually figure out how to take this thing off. I might have to wear it for the whole video. We'll see.
Oh, dude. You didn't, sleep with that on, did you? Alright, so, as you saw earlier, we're gonna tackle Versus Ridley from Super Metroid, since it's exciting, and some versions even have guitars in them already. I just saw that I got files from Baena, so let's check out what he sent over. Looking like I've got separate drum stems for each mic. And there's a couple of guitar tracks. Very low. And looks like a bass track. Oh, and he sent over some cool sound effects things, too. Okay, so I've got to get these raw parts tightened up a bit for the mix, so while I do that, I'm going to pass it back over to Andrew, who did in fact get the helmet off.
Alright, for this song, I was using two instruments. This is the one most of you are probably going to care about. This is my Fast Guitars 9-string. It is tuned stupidly low to C standard, except obviously an octave lower than a standard 6-string guitar. So it's basically half a step lower than a standard 9-string. So that would be C, F, and then A sharp standard. I'm not going to say all the notes, you know what they are. So yeah, other than being a 9-string guitar, it's pretty simple. Got EMG 909X pickups, and for the guitar tone, I was running this through a plugin by a company called Neural DSP, and the plugin is called Archetype Gojira, of course from the famous metal band Gojira. It sounds really cool, and I enjoyed how it sounded quite a lot. And the only other thing I was using in addition to this guitar for the tone was a whammy drop tune pedal, which I used a couple of times to pitch shift it even lower, because you know, apparently that wasn't low enough and I wanted to do more. The other instrument that I'm using is my Dingwall D-Rock. This is a 4-string bass guitar, and this is also tuned to C standard, except this is like the regular C standard. Obviously I couldn't go an octave even lower than what the 9-string is in, so this is in unison tuning, some might call it, so it's in the same tuning as the 9-string. sounds nice and chunky. And for this one, I was using the B7K plugin, also by Neural DSP, and that's pretty much all there is to the bass guitar. Look how sparkly it is. Isn't that nice?
Hello again. I tried something kind of fun. I usually do sound design ahead of time, and I did that, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I used a bunch of doom compression and distortion, but sort of aimed for a slightly alien movie sci-fi aesthetic? Not too much, but just enough to feel like there's some Metroid happening. Want to hear something that's especially alien-inspired? I put some real strings in the intro, just a little bit though. That other sound is some metal being scraped. It has like a Dead Space vibe, it's cool. So guys, I've pretty much been working on sound effects for 2 full days at this point, and I make them all with my mouth. If you thought that was good, here are some actual sounds I made. So I want to give you a very, very quick peek at the real-life Argent compressor. As I said, very quick. A couple of you have the beta, but we're almost ready to release it publicly for everybody. All I gotta say is I used it a bunch in this project, and you can make stuff that sounds kind of like this. Oh, this reminds me. I did want to learn a new sound that came straight out of Doom Eternal, specifically this one. So in the interest of time, I called up an expert. You might remember from my last video that I mentioned Soundtrack to the Apocalypse. Well, his name is Alexander, and he's already figured out how to make that sound, and he was nice enough to show me how he did it.
Okay, let's hope that this works. Pretty much, I think an important part of that sound is the filtering, like what we talked about, and the automation of the filter. Just let me play that sound without the filter and without the automation. Pretty basic.
I see that how the distortion is automated too. Not the distortion, not the drive, but the frequency as well here. And of course the filter. See that here? I have them automated.
And then I use pretty much a wah. When this is done, then I just send it through my pedals. I turn it a little bit down because I get it off. The feedback loop is on. And then I use the Turbotronic for additional kind of sound. You can also play around with that knobs while recording. So I record it pretty much then to an audio file. Just mess around. I guess it's not necessary to use these kinds of pedals. Maybe there are other plugins probably. Maybe Trash 2 or something. Tactical Nuke maybe? So yeah, hope that helps.
Thanks a ton, man. His links are in the video description if you want to follow his work. Anyway, I don't have that specific hardware, so I tried to use digital distortion instead. Not too bad for the first try, huh? Okay, last cool sound effect before we wrap this up. This is a little overdone in some circles, but it's still cool. Have a listen. All of that chopping comes from, in my DAW anyway, Ableton's AutoPan effect. The way I have it set up, it's just acting like a tremolo guitar pedal. I'm gonna shut it off so you can hear the sound without the chopping. Yeah, it's basically just a bunch of noise and distortion increasing in pitch and volume really fast. Add some tremolo onto it and make the rate faster over time, and voila, you get that cinematic vibe. I got those drums punchy, those guitars blazing, those synths screaming, and my arms falling asleep, and also, so is my butt. It feels like someone else's foot is attached to me. Okay, you ready to have a listen? Prepare yourself, this is some real Argent metal. All right, Geoffrey Day and Andrew Baena present to you Versus Ridley from Super Metroid, with 9-string guitars and with sound design techniques inspired by Doom Eternal. Enjoy! This one was a ton of fun to make, and thank you again, Andrew, for asking me to tackle a Metroid song with you. So what'd you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Oh yeah, and Andrew has a full playthrough video up on his channel, so check out the pinned comment below to see the 9-string in action. If you want to support my work and these videos, as well as get access to deep dives, stems, live streams, or get your music in my videos, or get access to that super secret Doom Music Maker Discord, please consider becoming a patron. The folks on screen are already enjoying the benefits, and to all my patrons, thank you a million trillion times over. I can't wait to share more stuff. You can get these songs on Bandcamp for free, or any price you think is best, and you can also listen on streaming platforms by checking out the links in the pinned comment. I'm very curious what you're gonna think of the next few videos I have planned. But until then, I've been Geoffrey Day. You've been absolutely out of this world, and I hope you're back again for the next video. See ya.